Hi, I'm Lisa, and this is Dawn, and we are talking about growth in the gray space. Sometimes growth does not look like success. It just seems nearly invisible because I think we're in a place where everybody wants instantaneous results. Would you agree? Me. So we've been bantering back and forth about this, and it's really comical because we're opposites. So, Dawn, let's talk about what do you have to see? What are your expectations related to growth?
I have really, really high expectations. Like I wanted to happen yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think that I should have to wait. I think that I should make a decision about what I want and I should get it at the very next moment. Maybe I'll wait a day, maybe two, but I'm terrible when it comes to patience. Absolutely terrible. That whole like sitting and waiting and like this just little progress over time, that is one of my biggest challenges. That's one of the things that I struggle the most with. And you don't struggle with that at all.
Well, I would say there are probably some areas that I do, but I think the biggest this topic really falls in line perfectly when you're talking about exercise and well-being because I feel like the camps are really divided. You have the people that are like, oh my gosh, I showed up today and I just don't even see anything, so I'm not going tomorrow, right? Or they go a week or a couple of weeks and it's just not enough results. I feed off of just knowing, like mentally knowing that I am doing something for my body, my soul. And even if it doesn't show up today, tomorrow, or in a month, I know it's going to show up. And Dawn, where do you fall in that?
I just don't believe. I'm super optimistic. I think generally I'm a very positive person, but I'm in the 99 percentile, I guess. You're a 1%er. I'm a 99 percentile. I just think that it probably isn't going to happen if it doesn't happen right away. I will say that there's a great book on this. It's called Good to Great. It's by Jim Collins. And he talks about a flywheel. And I've really been talking about that concept with our team at the office and how important it is to really live through that pain. Because if you can just keep on going. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the flywheel concept, but basically, you start out, it's all pretty good. You're feeling like you're making progress. And then all of a sudden you're getting kind of down to the bottom of the circle, and then it starts getting really hard. Everything's challenging. Like you don't want to get up and you don't want to do it. Everything seems harder, and then it gets harder and harder right before you get to the top, and then it just starts spinning.
Bam, you got momentum.
Spinning, exactly, like
Yes.
building that momentum. So I have that vision in my mind right now because with us and with the office and trying to figure out the best way to make the team work and efficient, we've made all kinds of changes, and I feel so grateful because my team has really embraced like the different ideas and really collaborated to come up with different ideas. And I think that when I talked to them about this flywheel concept, I guess last week, they all kind of lit up a little bit because we feel it right now. I mean, it is hard. We're trying to get caught up on things. We feel like we're making very little progress, but I know we are because I see progress by tracking things. So the way I fool myself into that instantaneous gratification is if you make little milestones for yourself, I'm going to get this project done. So you have a huge project and then you break it into little pieces. I don't think I understood or appreciated that concept or that way to kind of trick yourself until recently.
Well, and that this whole idea surrounds itself around celebrating the small wins.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this huge momentous thing. You celebrate the small wins and it's just, you're picking up progress, right?
Yeah. Momentum.
Right. Picking up momentum. And I totally know the flywheel because if you ever done a spin class, there's a flywheel on the front and your legs start spinning and you kind of have to be careful because it can spin out of control.
Yeah.
But it is like at first trying to get that momentum that's going. And I promise not every analogy is going to be some sort of workout analogy, but when she said that, that's what it made me think of.
Yeah.
Is being on a spin bike.
It's a great concept because it does get hard sometimes. And if you can't I don't know, if you can't think of a way that it's going to get easier at some point, and I don't know, sometimes it just doesn't get easy. Sometimes you're just kind of grinding away. And you're like, when is the easy coming? When is the easy coming? How do you keep yourself motivated on those hard days, no matter what it is, with work or with family? How do you keep yourself motivated?
So, the motivation, the days that you feel good, those aren't the days that, really to celebrate at the highest high. It's the days that you show up at the office that you don't want to, the days that you show up and complete the project or finish the tax return or whatever it is. But I feel that it's really important, and it makes all the difference in the world if you push through that first, like that wall, like you're coming up to that wall. And if you push through it, the next wall isn't as hard to push through.
That's true.
I mean, it just gives you the stick-to-itness to say, okay, I recognize I'm going to potentially come to a wall, but I'm not going to allow it to just destroy all the progress that I've made.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've had those situations wherein I was like, would have seen more success, but I quit too early.
Yeah.
You hear like, it didn't come this far just to come this far. Like, really, to me, that really speaks to me, because it is so true. Just like this podcast that we're doing, we didn't come this far just to come this far. We still want to grow. We still want to figure out the solutions to make lives better. We want feedback from you, everything. It's continuing to push to the next level.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the challenges with that is you don't know if it's going to get better. What I was talking about, how I need to know that it's going to be brighter and I'll stay in there. I think so. Sari Delamont, I love her. She's a jury consultant, overall life coach. And I've gone through her programs and been part of her, just her amazing kind of growth cycle in so many different areas of the law and life, for that matter. She talks about how you learn more through success than you do through failure. And I think that that's a little bit controversial. A lot of people talk about how, if it's hard, you've gone through something difficult and you failed, well, you learned from it. That's one thing. That when you were talking about going through that wall, you successfully went through that wall, and because you successfully went through that wall, you can do it again. So there's a lot to be learned through those little successes. Those small successes build on a larger belief, a larger success, a larger goal.
That's interesting, because I would have never thought of that concept, that you're learning more from the success than the failures. But the way you said it, it totally makes sense. Just pushing through, you continue to learn, you adapt, you make the changes. When I think about the failures that I've had in business, I mean, they literally, it's like a yard sale. Mm-hmm. You are out there, and it seems as though, the life is coming to a close at that point, when whatever chapter you're in. Mm-hmm. And so they're so traumatic. So I think that's the reason people feel they learn more from the failures, because it is traumatizing.
It's super I think it is. I think it's just how we survive. Yeah. I think we have to convince ourselves that, well, I'm just going to learn something from that. It's a little bit, I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit BS.
It is totally BS. And then you hear talked about, okay, there's no such thing as failure. It's just either a success or a lesson.
Yes, it's just there
are some really big failures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yard sales.
Yes.
I've had a couple.
Yeah, that's a couple of, going down the mountain on your skis and you hit it and everything flies. That's your yard sale. It's gone. It's history.
But
so one of the components that we both struggle with, because I know this about Dawn, I know this about me. I feel like I've really improved. I feel like I've improved better than Dawn about feeling the need to be productive all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for me, it's just like recent life changes wherein I'm taking care of, my husband and I are taking care of our granddaughter while our daughter's in school in the evenings. And just, it forced me to chill. So it's been a really good life lesson from that standpoint. So I feel like I've got one up on you there, Dawn. I feel like I'm moving farther down the track. I'm winning. I'm a little competitive. Right? Yeah, I'm just kidding. So how do you feel? Like, how do you have that in check?
More, I think more now. I will say being in Texas and handling a docket of cases in California where they are 2 hours behind us, that's been really nice. It really is, because I actually can be productive, work on things that are important to me before I start my day.
Right.
We have our morning huddle with the team at 10 a.m. Texas time. So my day effectively starts, like legitimately starts at 10. So I have a good solid 4 hours in the morning before I have to, really talk to the team and get them going to do all of the other projects, either get caught up from what needed to happen yesterday, do all of the things that I'm doing for personal growth. So I take that time in the morning to really take a minute to really kind of dive into that gray space.
That makes sense.
And I do it every day.
Oh,
So I train myself. It's been a while that I've been doing it. So it's been pretty consistent.
And it feels good?
It does feel good.
Yeah. Feels like you've got a rhythm. Like, isn't that what we're all looking for? We're looking for the routine, the rhythm.
So I'm not. So no, I hate routines. I'm terrible with routines. I just get so bored.
With you? So weird.
I do. I really do. I get so bored.
Oh my gosh, that's so routine.
Thing over and over. So my husband is very routine oriented. I mean, absolutely 100% routine oriented. And it's crazy how routine oriented it is. And I like change. I like things that are different. I don't want to do the same things all the time. I just, one thing comes to mind about Chris, my husband. When we were first dating, we had been over to my dad's house so many times, tons of times together. But most of the time I was driving. And when he passed away, we were coming back from the funeral and he didn't know how to get to my dad's house. And I was so frustrated. And I was like, what are you talking about? We've been here, we've been here 100 times. What are you talking about? And he's like, Dawn, it's because you drive a different way every single time. And it's true. I do. I don't like to go the same way. I go different ways. I like to see, it gives me, and I don't know, it might be some sort of disability or something, but it just gives me a fresh look on things.
Well, actually, no, it's not a disability, because they say that, especially as we age, like for instance, instead of, if you're right-handed, here's one for you to change your brain up, brush your teeth with your left hand instead of your right.
Oh, there you go.
Because when you're changing things, the synapses in your brain is functioning differently. And as we age, we want to be fresh, be thinking. So to your statement of always wanting change, not taking the same way twice, like that's really good for your brain.
See, I think I'm a little bit ahead of you right now.
Yes, you are. I would say, I would agree with you. I mean, I'm good with change as far as the office goes, but my life as a whole, like that, there's just things that I do day in and day out that I pretty much do them day in and day out, just routines.
Yeah. What do you think, just this whole concept of really kind of sticking in that space where you don't see progress? What do you think are the most productive things that keep you in the right mindset to stay where you're going, stay making small steps, because that those small steps are going to equate to your end goal? How do you stay in that gray space?
Well, there's got to be challenges. I have to have a challenge for myself. So whatever the case may be, if it's a work project, if I'm trying to get my taxes done, I will dedicate a specific time frame that I want to get it done. And so the more I get done, and if I can beat the deadline, like that's a sense of win, right? And that is one of the aspects of this, is celebrating the small wins, and maybe not the huge the end result, but celebrating as you go along. So with my workouts, it's the same way, whether I'm doing a challenge for myself or I'm very event driven. So if there is something, if we're going on vacation or I'm going to a conference or, my son's getting married, then I am all driven on getting all the things done, drinking all my water, eating healthy, getting my workout in, my supplements, getting my sleep, and, getting ready for that event. It's just like we're thinking about going snow skiing this fall. So I'm like so for me, it's like I have to be challenging myself. And then as I go along, I'm getting closer and closer to the goal. Do you not look at it like that?
I think that I am more, let's go skiing next weekend.
Yes. Oh, I would do that too. But boy, it burns to go down the mountain like you haven't worked out your quads. But yeah,
I'm more spontaneous, and I think that there are good things and bad things about that.
Agreed.
I think one thing that you said really resonated with me is having those small goals, setting little things to keep you on the right path. Like at the end of this week, this happens. At the end of next week, this happens. Just having those small goals. That's the way that I'm able to stay on target with important things that I'm trying to accomplish, is just putting them in manageable pieces, because sometimes you look at something and it just seems so overwhelming. I have this huge project that I need to get done and a short time to do it. Okay, well, how are we going to approach that? And I think so many people are so negative when it comes to trying to get to that point, right? Or, being negative or being impatient. You have to not to say you shouldn't adapt, because sometimes the plan's not working.
Yeah.
Sometimes the plan's not working. Sometimes you need to make a change. But allowing something, just give it a minute to see if it works. I think that's the hardest part for most of us, is just allowing yourself to sit in that quiet space and do the day-to-day that needs to be done to get to that next level.
Right. No, I agree with that. And then, so your goals going forward, how has your new routine or your lack thereof, how has it impacted how you're functioning? Because you said like you're in a groove, like you got it going on, you got your morning, your day doesn't start until 10 a.m. So you have that time in the morning. How has that impacted your life? How has that changed?
So I'm always kind of waiting. This is such a weird expression. I don't even understand what it means, but kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yes.
Right. So I'm kind of on plan. I'm kind of on target. Everything feels good. Everything's going good, but I'm just waiting. Something will pop up, like some sort of catastrophe. I'll have to, start a trial or it's some type of disruption.
Right.
Right. I'm waiting for that disruption to happen, and I'm looking to that as a challenge to be able to stay in it. And I think my plan in my head is to give myself some grace, meaning you don't have to keep on doing it perfect, because I am a perfectionist and that just kills me, right? Like if I can't do it 100%, well, I'm just not going to do it. And I've really tried hard to get away from that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's about making those small steps, right, to the ultimate goal. So it feels really good, but I'm just a little bit hesitant, worried that something's going to come up. But I think my plan in my head is that even if something comes up, I'm just going to do my best. Right. Just going to keep on making those little steps and do what I can to stay on path.
Right. So you might want to reread The Big Lead, because he talks about you do not want to go to that place of wait for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And it's just fresh. I just read it. Because
it does drop. It's all mental.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was like when you're saying that, I'm like, oh.
Now talk about that a little bit. I think that's what a great thing about that book, The Big Leap.
Yeah. One of the big, there's several messages in there, but one of the big messages that like we are just built in a manner that we almost can't celebrate any of the wins. We can't, the smallest of things, because in our mind, we have a fear that the other foot's going to drop, like Dawn just said.
Not your foot.
Yeah, the shoe. The shoe's gonna drop. Yeah, don't lose your shoe. That something bad is gonna happen. That you don't deserve all the goodness that's going on at that moment, and so then you don't necessarily celebrate it because you're just concerned that something bad is going to happen. Like you don't deserve all that goodness. So there's a complete couple of chapters that totally address, and he puts it in such a really good way to help you start to change your thinking and your mindset about like really living and embracing, and that goodness is just going to continue to come.
No bad.
No bad. And, for me, really early on in my career, when I was working as a paralegal, it was a very different scenario wherein if I needed help on something and they gave me a case clerk and that person didn't have it going on, I could just work longer that day to knock it out. And then when I went into the court reporting firm, number one, I'm not a court reporter. So there's no way I could show up at a deposition and fill in for a court reporter. So initially for a long time, as stressful as it was, when something good happened, I didn't celebrate it because I was waiting for, that call of a furious attorney to say, I don't have my transcript, or I don't have this, or the court reporter didn't show up. And so I would say to people, gosh, I sure would love to bring down some of the highs and bring up the lows and just stay in a neutral place. But being an entrepreneur does not work like that. So I just mentally shifted and decided, you know what? When the wins are hitting, I'm going to celebrate them. And when the lows come, I'm just going to work myself through them. But I did not stay in that status quo place. Like the status quo place was really where my mindset was at in the position as a paralegal. So, a lot of times growth, you don't necessarily feel like it can even be seen, right?
Yeah.
It's just something that later you recognize oh, I have experienced some growth. Like, wow, I made this connection. And that was one of them for me. And that part of the book really resonated with me.
Yeah. I think that's the whole thing is knowing that if you don't see that instantaneous progress or that, that instant gratification, as long as you are continuing to, stay on that path, stay on that course and just continue to work through it, you look behind you and you see all those steps that you took.
Right.
You see all that progress that you made, but you can't take all those steps in 1 second.
No.
Yeah.
Just, because you don't know what you don't know. And honestly, I think there's often been times where I'm just just tell me what I need to do and I'll just make it happen. But I needed that journey, that seasoning, that experience. There just isn't any way somebody can just give it to you by saying, do this one thing and you are going to be exactly where you want to be. It just doesn't work like that. And I think that's a really challenging concept because when you start out something new, your enthusiasm and planning and goals, everything is just focused on that. And when it's not coming to the fruition that you would like for it to come to, it can be so defeating. Mm-hmm. And you think, gosh, I'm not growing. This isn't paying off. But honestly, all of that collectively is what is going to get you to the next level.
Yeah.
It's typically you're about to have a breakthrough.
Yeah. Just believe in where you are.
Right.
But, embrace the journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of just the results.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I know. I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
Trying to learn.
You're doing so good.
So progress,
not perfection.
Yeah. Progress, not perfection.
That's our message today. Progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
All right. We will see you next time. If you have any questions, any comments, please comment below or feel free to email us at hello@ladiesinlaw.com. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.